It's time for Market Explainer, your number one business news podcast. Hosted by Danny and the big man. And it starts right now.
So this last one, and I just want to say about Gary Vee, and he's now a team owner of a major league sport. He owns a team in Major League Pickleball.
Okay, look, I shouldn't laugh. This is, according to Gary Vaynerchuk, this is the next big thing. He believes that the aging population of people out there that will just embrace over the next decade, embrace pickleball. If you don't know what pickleball is, look it up. It's very much like tennis. A lot of very similar rules.
Right, so it's tennis, but with ping pong paddles, essentially, right?
It's like a cross between tennis and ping pong, right?
Yeah.
You play it on a tennis court, but it takes up half the court, right?
Yeah.
And they have pickleball courts out there. It's just an easier form of tennis. It's like a less running, but it's still active, right? And it can still be very competitive. They use a much lighter ball, right? So it's much more like I said, tabletop tennis, if you call it that, or ping pong, whatever. The point,
Can I just tell you one of my major beefs with the sport is the name Pickleball.
Look, I'm sure there's some story out there that some old white will tell me about how pickleball became called pickleball. Maybe they used to pickle. I don't know.
And that story is stupid. Pick a better name, right? I refuse to
It can't be any dumber than basketball that they just hung baskets up on the side of the That's where basketball got basketball from. So
that's fair. And I mean, football is outside of the United States. You're kicking it with your foot, but in the United States, we have real football where people are getting concussions and hurting their brains. But listen, there's a part of me that goes so is Gary Vee, is he making the market or is he following a trend? Is he just early to a trend or is he making a market? This is a question that I always have about Gary Vee. But let me say this first about Gary Vee. People hate on this guy. Like, he is out there charging $3,000, like Tony Robbins is charging $3,000 a conference to show up, a ticket to a conference. Gary Vee is doing stuff for free. There are people right now in this country that are making $70,000, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 a year because they listened to Gary Vee and did something. All right. Now, Gary Vee, and people view, a lot of people like Ethan Klein of H3 talks they think he's some sort of scam artist. How are you scamming people when you give them something for free? Like, what? I mean, so my beef with people, and I'm not some fanboy. I'm not a raging fanboy of any character in any industry. Okay. I'm a raging fanboy of my own self-interest. But I gotta say this about Gary Vee, hey guys, what is he so he put out an NFT project. You didn't buy it. Did it force you to go to war in a foreign country? No, it didn't. So you didn't have to buy it.
Danny introduced me to Gary Vee. I did not know who Gary Vee was when Danny and I first met. And then he referenced him several times, and I eventually had to go look him up and have been a fan of his ever since. I think anybody that doesn't like Gary Vee, it's because they don't like the way he goes about. They don't believe that what he does and says is real. They're taking the nobody's this good approach, right? And if I don't believe that you're acting in earnest, that you're actually this guy, then I believe that you're a fugazi, and if you're a fugazi, I don't like you, right? I think that's most issues people with Gary Vee, is there's a lot of people out there that just don't like how real he is or the positive spin that he takes on everything. There's a lot of people out there that can't take that either.
Yeah, and let me just add this to the mix. Gary Vee is less of a scammer than a professor at a university. Right? Take any university in this country.
I don't think he would like that analogy because he doesn't believe in college. So.
No, I don't either. But I'm just saying, we exist in a country, we exist in a society that places a lot of used to, and that is quickly eroding, and that is to the benefit of our society, I believe. This belief that college is going to help you do anything, right? Of course, nobody's talking about medical school. Of course, nobody's talking about whatever. But the reality is that people view Gary Vee as like he's telling people not to go to school and pursue their passions. Like he's not a criminal. He wrote a couple of books. You don't have to consume them. But the reality is, there are universities out there, nonprofit, state sponsored universities that are scamming children, 18-year-old young adults, out of money and a future more than Gary Vee ever has, ever will, or ever could, or ever could dream of doing. So that
I agree.
all of that to say, um, this guy makes an investment into something, and it's pickleball, and it makes me go, "What is this?" And here's why I put the story in today, is
Oh,
because there was a sport called spikeball that went on Shark Tank, and Mark Cuban was doing a podcast recently, and the interviewer asked him, "What was the investment you regret not making?" And he said, "Spikeball." He said, I didn't buy into the sport as a sport, and I didn't buy into the sport as a league, and it blew up.
mm-hmm.
And the panini happened, and then everybody wants to be outside. And here's what I think. I think that there is the emergence of esports, and how people just accept you can make money playing video games on the internet. There is the opposite, which is I think that more and more niche sports are going to find audiences because the same people who accepted esports as a thing will accept that professional whatever. And there's a small niche celebrities that are going to emerge out of those things where they're going to make $150,000 a year playing pickleball or bowling or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And because the ecosystem that esports provided is going to say, I don't want to be crammed in a house. I want to go outside. I want to have some physical activity. The panini forced a lot of people outside of their house for the first time in a long time, or because it was an option for all of your life and you didn't care. But now that someone's saying you can't do it, you want to go, screw you, I'm going to go do it. Right?
Content consumption is definitely a big deal, right?
Right.
Obviously. And you and I, every time we cover a Gary Vee story, we always ask the question of: is he creating that audience? Is he
Right.
creating that story by being a
Right.
part of it? So is he actually making who will be the consumers, and the only way they found it was through Gary Vee,
Right.
or is he just does he have that
Following a
foresight?
trend.
Right
Right.
now, I will say this: this is
I think it's both. I think it's both things.
well, I'm
I
just saying
think,
this league, this pickleball league, by the way, is some
yeah.
ticky tack backwoods. And look, Gary Vee may
Hey,
bring in a lot of no's. They're supposed to have, according to their website and according to the article,
yeah.
12 teams this coming 2022 season.
Wow.
Gary Vee's one of the new owners, so apparently they
Right.
have one. But when you go to their website is god awful, by the
Right.
way. And
Yes.
the 6 teams that they had listed that played, apparently there was a 2021 league that nobody
Right.
knew about
Right.
season. And one of them is Gary Vee. So I don't know whether he bought an existing team and is renaming it, or he created a new team for himself and one dropped out. I don't know. But
No, he
here's
played
the
him and someone else. I think it's him and his brother played someone else and Andre Agassi and beat them in pickleball. So Andre Agassi, it doesn't matter if he's a retired pro. If you're a professional tennis player, somebody should be able to smoke you at pickleball, right?
well, I'm just saying. Here's the name of the teams. Gary
Right.
Vee's team is named 5S. I have no idea what that means, what it stands for,
No,
but
it's the
it's
fives. I can tell you what it stands
okay.
for.
All right, the fives. What does the
Right.
five stand for then? Go
Okay.
ahead.
So
Oh, Gary V. 5, right? I've heard him make that reference before. V stands for 5
no,
in Roman numerals.
that could be it. But what I understand is Gary Vee wanted a Jets jersey when he was a kid, and his parents were broke, so his mother
Right.
knitted him a sweater that in the Jets colors, and then she just put five as the number on the jersey.
So
So
it's
he
like his
always
number, favorite number kind of thing. I knew he was a Jets fan. That makes sense. So the Gary V five
the
the
fives.
fives,
Yeah,
B
chimeras.
Chimeras,
Yeah,
Team BLQK, all capitalized.
it's
So I
it
don't know
sounds
what
like it sounds like a radio station somewhere in El Paso, or like it sounds like a radio station somewhere on your drive to El Paso, and you
today on Team BLQK. Yes, it does.
BLQK in the morning. Just
BLQK.
checking in with you. There's a little bit of traffic. That's right on the main stoplight road. So
That's right.
ATX
ATX
Pickle,
pickleballers
dumbest
team.
name, dumbest name. Okay, it is the
I love it.
Houston Texans of names. I'm a Texans fan. If I'm a fan of a football team in Texas, it's the Texans, not the
No,
Cowboys.
I'm going
But
ATX pickleballers from now on. I am a pickleballer for life. ATX pickleballers. Team clean.
right
Ranchers
there
and the
we go.
Lions.
That's my
Ranchers
team.
and the
Yeah,
Lions. So and I'm just saying. So they're supposed to have 12 teams. It's April. They don't even
yeah,
have what 12 teams they are.
yeah.
It's really bad
And
information.
and
Like they
it's
need to
and
keep
it's
nail it down.
and it's Major League Pickleball.net already.
Already, it's out. MLP for short.
Yeah,
Like okay, you're gonna get a letter from MLB like
yeah.
immediately. That's gonna be like,
Well,
all right, it sounds too close to. You're gonna have to
right.
Major League. You're gonna have to call it something else.
Right. No, but like, listen, I included the story because I saw this and I was like the headline or whatever popped up was Gary V buys Major League, and I stopped reading
Of course.
pickleball. But listen, I think that these are the kind. Let me put it this way: when I have $100 million in net worth, or when I have $10 million in net worth, these are the kinds of bets I want to be making because I say this repeatedly on the show. I'm a gambler, not an investor. And I think it's like you have to make gambles like this. And what I said before was I think it's both. I think Gary Vee is looking like, hey, there's a spark of something here. And Gary Vee is
Yeah.
gasoline. So I'm going to take the spark of something, I'm going to invest in it. What is this investment? I, there's no way that this investment is anything more than $18. You can buy a tank of gas
The price of
cheaper.
jerseys and some
Yeah.
pickleball gear. Like,
Yeah.
so
Which is,
obviously
what
he
is,
probably brought on people to buy teams with him. He probably
yeah.
brought on half of the additional 12 investors, right? You got to assume he
Yeah.
brought 5 or 6 buddies along with him to buy
Yeah.
teams, right?
Yeah.
And he's already had enough. They just released. They're going to get their let's see, MLP team competition to take place in Dripping, Texas, right? It's outside of Austin, Central Texas. So
Dripping
it's here.
Springs, right?
Yeah, Dripping Springs, right?
Right.
And the finals are going to be on the CBS Sports Network.
That's something.
So he brought in television and probably some owners.
Right.
Whoever developed this pickle league, right? And then just said,
Yeah.
hey, let's do a nonprofit so we can do this. We'll get some of our buddies' companies to come in here, sponsor
Right.
a team, right? And we'll do it all here, whatever. And so they set up this little bitty nonprofit. I guarantee you it's a guy and a buddy, because that's all
Right.
nonprofits in Central Texas are some
Right.
guy and his buddy run a football, some
Right.
whatever.
Right.
So
Right.
they
Right.
got a guy and his buddy, and then in walks the door Gary V one day, and they're like, "We just hit big time.
Yeah.
We just hit big time. We
And,
just hit it."
and let me just add this to the mix also. I think there's a certain amount of fatigue when it comes to major league sports, basketball, football, baseball. And there's a certain amount of, like with college and professional sports, where it's become too political. It's become so competitive. It's not fun anymore. We're looking at these guys who are jacked up on, PEDs, and, these kids who are probably getting concussions and, doing whatever. We've lost the luster and the fun of playing a game for money, but we've stopped recognizing, hey, wait, we're playing a game for money. God bless America. God bless the free market. God bless capitalism. We're making whatever amount. So I think some of it is that has been lost, right? It's become so overproduced and professional. And there's too much politics and this and that. And so we look at, like the XFL and these, competitor NFL competitor leagues.
Right. The Rock owns one
And
now. Yeah, the AFL. Yeah.
yeah, and so like those are like it takes so much bandwidth to make those function, and that bandwidth equals capital, and that capital equals like this is
Right.
money to lose. Whereas pickleball, spike ball, esports, they're a little less capital intensive, and it becomes fun. And it's one of those things where it's kind of like a hipster thing where like, wow, I was into dashboard confessionals before everyone else. like, and then
Oh, I was into pickleball long before the ranchers
that's right,
joined the point. Like, but
right.
look, and I agree with you. I only laughed while you were doing that because you almost word for word recited the monologue from Basketball. Did you ever see
Yeah,
Basketball?
no,
And
of course
if you haven't out there, you should definitely watch Basketball
not.
because it falls directly in line with what Danny was just saying about all these sports have gotten out of hand. They need a new
Right,
sport where they can make the rules where you can't
right.
trade players, you can't do this, you can't, yeah,
Yeah,
where
yeah,
it's a sport for the everyday person. You know what I
right.
mean? That
Yeah.
can get behind. Look, pickleballs should definitely be one of those. I'm going to tune in just to see how pickleball competitive really is.
Hey, listen, I have watched professional bowling, and I thought, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Is the first question I have, and the second question I have is, why did I get it? Like, why is it so easy to get into professional bowling? I'm like, you're just watching it. Like, up next is Big Bad Joe. He is the bad boy of professional bowling. And here's the other part about professional bowling that I like is there is somebody on there who looks like me, and to go, hey,
But they're getting paid. They're getting paid.
yeah,
Look, I will put this pickleball in the same category as a lot of other things, and I say this all the time,
yeah,
especially about sports. There are sports out there right now that go on somewhere around the world that people
right.
are making a ton of money at, and they are the best in their business of a sport that you had no idea that existed. Okay,
Right.
there is a cup stacking competition out there where you can make money stacking cups faster than anybody stacks cups that's ever stacked a cup.
Yeah,
Now,
and
and
that
it's a real thing.
yeah, I
People
know.
compete and they go to malls on the weekends and they prepare and they are working and so there are sports all around the world that you and I have never heard of that people
Right.
make money at and go through every day. Like, and so
No,
I'm always amazed when I come across them.
I have heard of cup stacking. I tried to become a professional cup stack. I'm kidding, but I have heard of it. I mean, it was this thing in junior high. No, in elementary school, the gym teacher pulls us out and was just like, what are we doing here? Like, I
Yeah.
wonder why my generation is morbidly obese and can't do math, you know? So,
So I'll put pickleball in that category, which I'm always interested to give anything a shot. You know what I mean?
so here's what I will say. If it was me and it's like, hey, you can invest in uh, what is it, Major League Soccer or pickleball? Screw soccer. This is America. I refuse. I will come in and I will own the pickleball category, but we got to work on the name pickleball. Okay,
Well,
it feels too much like dickball. Okay,
it's
that's the problem.
it's set now. I don't know that you could change it now. I think they'll definitely rename the league. Major League Pickleball is again too close to baseball. I think they're going to get into some stuff. So I think they'll have to work the name. But look, again, I'm going to go back to this falls into that category. If you really want to know about some of these oddball sports out there and stuff like that,
Yeah,
just look up your local mall's website and look and see what's in that mall on a Saturday. I guarantee you somebody is renting out like the lunchroom, whether it's
right.
Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or cup stacking or whatever, or your local like our HEB center over here. If you see
Yeah,
what they're
yeah, yeah.
doing on days that the Texas Stars aren't here, right, and all
Right.
that stuff, they got conventions going on for God knows what human beings.
Hey, and let me just say this in closing is like Lewis Howes, who has a huge presence on YouTube and social media, and Marquez Brownlee, he's a tech YouTuber. Both of them are professional athletes in some category, two different sports, neither of which I heard of. And I think Lewis Howes is a Olympic athlete. He went to the Olympics to play some sport I've never heard of. Okay.
Well, now I have to find some obscure sport that I'm really good at. Like I don't know what it is.
Well, I don't want to announce this on Market Explainer. It's an exclusive, but we will. I'm currently working on what I call the Supersize League, which is fat guys, it's a fat guy fight league. Okay. It's 30-second rounds.
30-second rounds, yeah.
Yep. It's the super heavyweight, so it's 350 plus. No one in this category who looks like they eat well, right? So and there's 3 rounds, 30 seconds each, and there's 4 minute breaks in between. So
That's right.
yeah.
Snacks are optional, but bring your own.
Yeah, no, it's for sure they're just going to be handing out pasta, chicken Alfredo from Olive Garden to fighters on the side. Got a carbo load.
Uh,
All
all right,
right.
Danny, you got one of your euphemisms for us?
It's not a euphemism this week. We have another tip of the week, which is first quit quitting, then never stop, never stop. It's a life motto of mine.
We're sticking with Gary V today. All right, very
Well,
nice, very nice.
fair enough.
All right, if I don't quit first, folks, we'll see you next week.
Bye now.